you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
And she joins me right now. We're talking about A Christmas Spark that is premiering at 8 p.m. on November 27th on Lifetime. The incomparable Jane Seymour joins me all the way from Dublin. Jane, how are we doing?
We're doing great. Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to speak to you.
It's so great to speak to you. I mean, let's just dive right into A Christmas Spark. This is obviously the time of year where we get so many great holiday movies and television shows to watch. Tell the people about A Christmas Spark.
I particularly love this one. I did it because the script was way, superior in my estimation to a lot of these Christmas shows, and it had a lot of depth too. But basically, Molly is a woman whose husband passed away 2 years ago. She's stuck in her routine. She lives still in the house. She won't change anything. She's obsessed with Christmas. She always has her daughter come and her granddaughter, and they do all the same things, and everything is a tradition. And her daughter calls and basically says that her husband's got a new job and they've got to change things, and why doesn't she come to them instead? So she goes to them, and I think in Connecticut or somewhere, back east, and really doesn't want to. And what happens is she ends up, she's an ex-drama school teacher, and she ends up being coerced into directing the town's little Christmas play. And while she's doing this, she keeps bumping into the town's most eligible bachelor, who she doesn't know at all, who's played by Joe Lando, who is a kind of a grumpy kind of guy, and certainly not an actor, certainly never wants to do any of this kind of thing. And she coerces him into doing this Christmas play, and through that they develop a relationship and find love. But meanwhile, her real trauma is that she loved her husband, and she spent many, many years dealing with him dying from an illness which took a long time and was very, very difficult for her to deal with. And she just doesn't know how she can love two people at the same time. How do you let go of one to start another relationship, or can you hold both relationships in your heart? So it's all about whether she dares start again. And I think it's very rare for them to have a movie about people in their 60s, and in my case, of course, I'm 70, falling in love and having a real romantic, relationship.
Yeah, I think it's great. And, it's especially, like you said, for a story to highlight people who can find love after love. I remember my grandmother, after her husband passed away, she ended up finding another boyfriend for a little while when she was in her mid-80s. So it's just great to let people know that it's never too late to fall in love, and to have the Christmas story involved with it always is fun. Now, you said that you picked this project because the script spoke to you. Is that normally how you go about choosing something? The material really has to mean something?
Yes, definitely. And this one really was good. I read it and it just jumped off the page, and it had humor, and it had pathos, and it had charm, and it had wit, and I just thought, if they get me a really good guy to play opposite, this thing will just be amazing. And then they were smart enough to go, well, wait a minute, chemistry, who are we looking for? What about Joe Lando? Because Jane and Joe always had chemistry, and anything we've done since, there's always been chemistry, and we're still very close friends. And Joe had read it because we're just friends, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I've just been offered this thing, and I didn't, think for him to do it. And he read it, and he said, oh my God, he said, you're going to have so much fun doing this. This is really good, and I hope you get a good guy, because this is, you're going to have the best time. And then, of course, they hired him, and we did have the best time. It was wonderful.
It's absolutely incredible. A Christmas Spark on Lifetime, November 27th. We're talking to Jane Seymour right now. Jane, this is something obviously you don't know because we have never spoken before, but I have like this running top 15 films of all time list that I have, and you are in 2 of my top 15 favorite movies of all time. One of them being, of course, Live and Let Die with Sir Roger Moore, the late, great Sir Roger Moore. The other being Wedding Crashers. If I can ask you just about your time filming Live and Let Die for just a moment, because this, I could be wrong, but wasn't that your first major acting role in a motion picture?
In a motion picture, absolutely, yes. I'd been in a series before that in England called the Onedin Line. I had quite a nice role in it, but this was my first major lead in a major picture, yeah.
And then, I mean, it's so crazy because, I mean, for you to be a part of a machine like the James Bond franchise, especially it was Roger Moore's first James Bond. Just can you tell me like what you remember about when that movie came out and kind of the filming of it and all that?
Well, it was such a big deal, and it could have gone to my head, but mercifully at the time I was dating and about to marry Michael Attenborough, Richard Attenborough's son, and he took me aside and gave me some great advice. He said, "The day you believe in your own publicity, you're dead." he brought me right, back on the ground. So, I never got carried away with any of this, Bond stuff or any of that. And in fact, afterwards, I decided I really needed to, learn more about acting. So I went into the theater and I did Shakespeare and all the classics, in repertory. Everyone thought I was crazy to go and do that, but I just felt that I wanted to be an actress. That's what I wanted, not to be particularly a Bond girl. But being a Bond girl, in retrospect, I think was actually a very fortunate and lovely thing. I'm very proud of it, and it, it's another role for me, but for some people, especially in England, as far as they're concerned, that is the only thing I've ever done. And sometimes it's a little frustrating when you have a very large body of work. But it's very interesting. Different generations know me for different movies. So it's either Bond or Dr. Quinn or Wedding Crashers, or any of the sci-fi ones like Battlestar Galactica. That's a random one, stuff like that. It's all different things. And I've been very, very fortunate.
Oh, of course. And again, we're going to add to the pantheon of incredible work that you've done with A Christmas Spark that goes down November the 27th on Lifetime. My final thing, Jane Seymour, that I want to ask, do you have any holiday traditions that we should be aware about? What does Jane Seymour do during the holidays?
Well, I used to have a home in England that was over 1,000 years old, and that's where we had our traditions. It was built in 950. It was the home of Prior Cantelo of Bath, who built Bath Abbey. So it dated all the way back with, renovations and extra parts of the castle put together, or it was manor house, really, in 1200, 1400, 1500, the most recent being 1912, which was an orangery. So we had a lot of traditions there. It was a little tiny village. People would come and sing carols, and we would, have the village would come from the church, which was on our property, into our big sort of ballroom, living room area, which had the most beautiful sound. And we'd have, mulled wine and all the English, I can't remember what they're called, mincemeat and all that kind of stuff. And we had major Christmases there with lots of people, and lots of friends from America would come, and they'd sit in the kitchen, and I'd say, you do realize that you're sitting next to a wall that has been here, is 4 times older than your country. That was very hard for people to understand. Like, old, no. Old in America is aging. It's not old. That's not, And then even my house there, when it was built, was nothing compared to the Roman baths, which are just down the road, or the Druids and Stonehenge, which was in the other direction. So, that was tradition, was to be in the cold, and it always seemed to snow on Christmas Day. No other time, but Christmas morning you'd wake up and then the deer would be out there and the rabbits jumping around and the fox, a big red fox, and it was just magic. So having Christmas in America now, in California, the sun is shining, we turn the jacuzzi on, we take the champagne out and go sit in the jacuzzi and say, aren't we lucky that we live in California and we don't have snow? And but we cook the same turkeys, and we have all the decorations from the trees from all those years. We have those now in California, and because of fire risk, I won't put a real tree in my house. Just one of those pre-lit ones. I'm very fond of those. So we, and then the kids and friends and family. I love the holidays, and it's for us it's almost like an extension of Thanksgiving and Friendsgiving. It's a time to actually stop and just look around and be grateful for what we have, and to give back and see what we can do to help others that are not so fortunate.
Oh, that's an incredible answer. I love the story there. And Jane Seymour, I am grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning at Christmas Spark again on November 27th on Lifetime. Jane, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.